Hi, Linton Allen here and welcome to Sketch and Tell. This is another part of my series called Colours of Australia. I've often mentioned that I get my inspiration from the world of nature. And many times it's the small and ordinary things that catch my eye. And one of the places I find those is down at the beach, where you can just take time to slow down, and as you're walking along the water's edge, that place I call where water kisses land, I find many little objects, whether it's a shell, whether it's a rock, whether it's just the colour of the water washing in up and down on the beach, the waves, or perhaps a piece of driftwood. I'm going to do a painting of one of these objects that I found many years ago that has been with me ever since and has been a great source of encouragement. This is also a bit of a study of waves just sort of coming in gently onto the sand, and it's a bit of a challenge, so I hope you enjoy. That is my humble attempt to do a very difficult painting, even though there's not much in it, but to try and capture something of the light and the movement and fluidity of water as it comes in gently onto the beach is very tricky, especially when you've only got a few minutes. But nonetheless, this is the place when many years ago I was up in North Queensland and just walking along the beach, and I came across a piece of driftwood, and I broke a little piece off, which I have been carrying with me in my car and in my van for the last nearly 30 years, all over Australia. And the reason I carry this is because it is a unique piece of driftwood, and this is my little bit of it. This driftwood, of course, is just part of, it's one little branch of a massive tropical rainforest tree that is still growing way up in North Queensland in the Daintree. And this tree is over 700 years old. Starting from a small seed, it grew into a massive towering tree over 70 meters high. And this tree is the home, still is the home of many creatures, great and small, birds and mammals and frogs, snakes even, ferns, lichen and moss all along the branches and on the trunk, insects. It is a world within a world within the rainforest. And is also a sacred tree. It has been for generations the birthing tree of Indigenous women as those communities travelled through that area. That was where new life was birthed into the world. It is also a tree that has endured a lot of challenges and hardship in its time. It has endured countless hot, steamy summers, massive storms, wild cyclones. And yet each evening it stares up and it observes the mysteries of the night sky. It sees the multitude of stars, the Milky Way, the Southern Cross, and all the other constellations. But then, during one storm, lightning hit the top branches and a massive branch broke off, burning, crashing to the ground. Eventually, during one of the torrential rain periods, that branch was washed down into a deep gorge, where it was carried over rocky waterfalls and then down into swirling, flowing rivers, where it began its journey. And there it saw amazing creatures, snakes and fish and turtles, eels and crocodiles. Some of them even found a resting place on the branch as it floated down the river. And eventually it was flushed out into the mangroves, the coastal mangroves, and then out into the open ocean, into the Pacific Ocean, where it began its next journey as a sea voyager. And there it saw dolphins and whales and fish, turtles and sharks and birds. It saw coral reefs below the water and distant tropical islands on the horizon. And then it was washed up onto this beach, where I happened to stumble across it. And I have carried this little bit of it with me for the last 30 years. Bleached white and smoothed by countless tides and the sand. It was my little memorabilia. And then it began another whole journey with me throughout Australia. Nah, I'm having a little bit of fun here. I go, nah, again, I really don't know the story of this piece of driftwood. I am doing what I'm called driftwood dreaming, just using my imagination. But that's what I did as I picked this piece of driftwood off on that beach that particular day. I held it in my hand and I started to wonder, what has been its story? Where has it come from? How long did it take to get here? What has it seen? What has it experienced? And the reason I was doing that is because I was, as I walked along the beach, going through, I guess, similar thoughts in my own mind. I guess a little bit selfishly. I was feeling a bit sad for myself. And I was just feeling lonely, not alone, but just lonely, because I was a long way from home. And let's face it, I'm not a celebrity. I haven't got huge crowds following me on Twitter and Facebook and all the other media platforms. And I was sort of wondering, does anyone really kind of know my journey? Does anyone really care? Does anybody know my story, where I go and what I'm doing? And even if they knew the outside of me, do they really know the inside story? Do they really know how I'm feeling and what I'm thinking and why I'm doing what I'm doing and how I'm going? That inner life journey, which is very hard for us to share with others and even sense that others really care. Now we do have, and I do have those around me who do care about me. But all of us, including myself, we are limited in our ability to really know someone, to always be with them, and let's be honest, to really care about them. But as I held this piece of driftwood, I thought again of Psalm 139, which has always been and continues to be my favourite psalm. And I'm going to finish by reading it to you because it is all about God's knowing of us. That deep knowing our outer and inner story in ways that are just beyond our imagination. Let me read. O Lord, you have searched me, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down, my driving here and my driving there. and you are familiar with all of my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you know it completely. O Lord, you hem me in. Behind me and before me, you have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to understand. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go to the highest heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, and if I settle on the far side of the sea and the ocean, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like day, for darkness is as light to you. And then just a little bit further down. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God. How vast is the sum of them. Were I to try to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand on the beach. Thank you, Lord. Have a great day, and know that God is with you and knows your story.